Hey everyone, thank you for stopping by my channel. This week, Althea Williams and I will be discussing the 2016 movie My Sweet Audrina, based on the 1982 book of the same name by V.C. Andrews. It's about a girl whose father tries to turn her into her dead sister, who is also named Audrina. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Althea's channel and please subscribe to mine so that you don't miss our hot tea. The two of us have done many collaborations together. So let's get started. The movie begins with a voiceover from Audrina Adare. She lets us know that if it's a Sunday, she'll be visiting the grave of her older sister, the first Audrina, who was essayed and murdered by a group of boys in the woods at age 9, before the second Audrina was born. In the book, we learn that Audrina number 1 died on September 9th, which just so happened to be her birthday. September 9th is also the birthday of Audrina number 2, who was born 9 years after her older sister's death. Interesting. By the way, September 9th is also the birthday of Troy in the Castile books. V.C. Andrews seemed to have thoughts about the number 9. Audrina's father is one of those obnoxious helicopter parents who shelters her from the world. He won't let her go to school. He says things like, "Don't you go walking in the woods, especially when it rains, because for some reason rainy days are dangerous, probably because it was a rainy day when her older sister died." Her father is named Damian. You know, like the kid from The Omen? I wonder if V.C. Andrews was thinking of the devil when she named Audrina's father. Audrina's mother is Lucietta Whitefern. In the book, she often goes by the nickname Lucky. Audrina has an aunt, Elsbeth Whitefern, who lives with her, along with Elsbeth's 15-year-old daughter, Vera. Elsbeth has a temper when provoked. In the book, it's stated that she's a former teacher whose reputation was ruined for slapping naughty boys in the classroom. The story takes place around the 60s, 70s. One of the other important characters in the movie is named Arden Lowe. He's the caretaker's son and is roughly the age of Vera in the book, but Arden becomes very good friends with the younger Audrina. In the book, Arden's mother is named Billy. She lost both legs for a really convoluted reason. She used to be an Olympic skater, but one day she tripped on a bobby pin and got an infected cut. Complications arose as a result of her undiagnosed diabetes. Diabetes is clearly something you don't mess around with. Billy is amputated from the movie, which is unfortunate, but I understand they had time constraints they were working with. One of my favorite lines from the book is the following, and it's right on the first page. This is not in the movie voiceover, but the voiceover does say that time is irrelevant for Audrina's family, and the family home, Whitefern, has no calendars or current newspapers, and those are lines from the first chapter of the book. There are stained glass windows in the Whitefern home that cast light on the foyer floor, and 12-year-old Audrina has this little game where she will step on the different colors and sing a creepy tuneless rhyme. Keep in mind that the book opens with Audrina being 7, or rather, she's told she's 7. We'll find out later that time moves swiftly, and even backwards, in the Adare household, and her parents aren't being honest with her. The movie doesn't really elaborate on the fuzziness of time like the book does, because the parents don't mess with Audrina's head quite as much as they do in the book, and when the movie starts, Audrina is older. Right off in the movie, we learn that Audrina's mother is pregnant. Audrina is excited at the prospect of having a baby brother or sister. She hopes it will take some of the attention off of her and that she will be able to go to school. She desperately wants to go to school, but her parents won't let her. Audrina's mother teaches her how to play the piano in the movie. Her mother was accepted at Juilliard and is said to be a wonderful pianist. In the book, it isn't until much later, after her mother's death, that Audrina gets it into her head to start playing the piano, but her father thinks she's being frivolous. Her father is a stockbroker and wants her to become his business partner. He begins grooming her into the business from a very young age. In the movie, I don't remember any mention of Damian being a stockbroker. Vera is now taunting her cousin about the fact that Audrina has a horrible memory. A Swiss cheese memory is what it's called in the book. Audrina doesn't like it when Vera calls Damian Papa, but we find out later that Vera actually is Damian's illegitimate daughter, as well as his niece by marriage. Vera makes the excellent point that someone with a memory as fractured as young Audrina's is in no position to lecture her older cousin about the facts of her paternity. Very true, even if she could have said it in a gentler manner. By the way, the name Vera means truth. I feel that is significant. In the book, Vera is accused of being a liar, but in some ways, she's the most honest of all the characters. She threatens to expose her father's secrets, but Damian says in the book that if she ever dares say a word about the truth to Audrina, he'll disinherit her, and I quote, have the skin from her back and the hair ripped from her scalp. Sounds like something grandmother Olivia would have said when laying down the rules of the attic room to the siblings in the Dollenganger series. Damian acts like he could be grandmother Olivia's son. Now, wouldn't that be a twist? Audrina has a complicated relationship with Vera. She wants to be friends with her, but at the same time, Vera is awful. Audrina has a lot of trauma, which we're led to believe is from all the horror stories about her older sister's assault and murder. Vera taunts Audrina, behaving inappropriately around her, which is particularly disturbing in the book because it's happening when Audrina is 7, 9, 12 years old. For much of the movie, Audrina is about 18. It's still mean-spirited, don't get me wrong, just definitely more disturbing when it involves two sisters who are still children. I feel that in all likelihood, Vera was SA'd by Damian in the book. She's obsessed with X, but in a sadistic sort of way. There's a scene where Damian drags her into another room to whip her with a belt, and Audrina can hear her screams, and she wonders if Vera is naked, but decides even if she were to ask Vera later, Vera would probably tell her she was, because that's how Vera rolls. If she's going to tell a story, people are going to be naked in it. Audrina knows that Vera likes to make a big to-do over nothing. She could just go down the hall and see for herself what's up, but Audrina decides she doesn't really want to know. So we as the reader are left only to speculate. Damian treats Vera like the black sheep of the family. Audrina is the one he dotes on. He tells Audrina it's because she's got the potential to be as special as his first Audrina. Honestly, I think he likes her best because she's his legitimate daughter, and Vera isn't. I really don't think it's more complicated than that. I mean, yeah, Vera's also evil as... But while it's no excuse for her behavior, being treated like a reject by her own father has got to have helped make Vera into the bad seed she became. It's like that old saying, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Damian hating Vera for being illegitimate, or Vera being a... Audrina does put the blame for Vera's behavior on her father at different times throughout the book, trying to advocate for her sister or cousin, even when she's like 7 years old, acting like a little adult, talking about her concerns with her father while he's like, what the heck are you talking about? Has your cousin been filling your head with tales? She better not be. And that's how it goes in this household. I understand why Audrina was older in the movie. She's been emotionally stunted by her father, but she also acts way too mature for her stated age of 7 in the first few chapters. There's a scene where Vera shows Audrina all of the Valentine's Day cards she got at school and the box of candy that was given to her by a boy. She won't let Audrina have even a single chocolate because she's a selfish... None of the kids in the village like Audrina, Vera says, because she's been telling them tales about how she cries and wets her bed. Not true, Audrina says. When Audrina asks her father why she can't remember anything about her past, her father tells her some BS about how she's a very special girl, and that's why. Sounds like something a millennial parent would say before giving you a trophy for trying. But Damian is not a soft parent. Far from it. He's a very cruel man who manipulates the emotions of his young daughter to get what he wants from her. She tells her father she wants friends. He thinks friends aren't good for people like her. So now I want to discuss the rocking chair. It's a big part of the book, and of course it's in the movie as well. The cover of the novel features a little girl in a rocking chair surrounded by cobwebs and stuffed animals with a dark-haired man looming in the background. Audrina and Damian have this nighttime ritual where he places her in her dead sister's rocking chair and tells her to imagine herself as an empty pitcher so that she can fill herself with her dead sister's special gifts. It's basically some form of hypnosis. Audrina hates sitting in the rocking chair and being haunted by visions of what happened to the first Audrina. In the book, Damian will sometimes be in the room with Audrina as she rocks. Sometimes he'll stand outside the door, believing that the solitude of rocking alone in an empty room will help her become more relaxed and less fearful. It's telling that he thinks he's sabotaging their success by being near her. Maybe he should take that as a clue to back the off. So yeah, there's also a rocking chair scene in the movie too, and it's creepy as hell. In the chair, Audrina has visions of the day her older sister died. Now comes the part in the movie where Audrina meets Arden, the caretaker's son. He tells her that the box of Valentine's Day candy from earlier was all for her. Remember? The candy Vera said was given to her by a boy? The candy she refused to share with Audrina? What a little... Audrina is frightened by Arden because he's a boy and she's been taught to fear boys, so she runs away. In the book, she meets both Arden and his mother, and she vows to visit them again in the future because she desperately wants a friend. In the book, she runs into her father as she's leaving their cottage, and her father tells her very firmly not to associate with the likes of Arden Lowe and his mother because they are inferior to the Adares. They are common people, not special, like his sweet Audrina. At this point in the movie, Lucietta goes into labor, but she ends up dying in childbirth, and the baby dies as well. In the book, the baby lives, but she can't come home right away because she has challenges. Her name is Sylvia. By the way, there's a scene that's in the book, but not in the movie, where Lucietta and Damian try to predict the gender of the baby by having a woman over to the house who ties a ring to a string and holds it over Lucietta's belly to see if it moves vertically or in a circle. The woman makes the unhelpful prediction that the baby will be neither a boy nor a girl. Audrina later uses the same method of tying a ring to a string to try to predict successful stocks. The movie cuts out what Audrina calls the string and ring trick altogether. It's not used to predict the baby's gender, and there's nothing about stocks in the movie. In the book, Damian actually engages in fraud, taking advantage of naive old women who trust him for stock advice. Also, I want to note that in the book, Damian beats Lucietta with a belt the night before she goes into labor, and Audrina and Vera witness it from the hallway outside the couple's room. Audrina steps in to stop her father from hurting her mother, while Vera just finds the whole situation amusing. Damian reassures his younger daughter that he won't hurt her mother. The way he puts it is that hurting his wife would lead to hospital visits, and that would be very damaging to his wallet. For Damian, that is a very persuasive argument against beating his wife any further. The next day, Lucietta has the baby and dies, so I don't know what to make of that. But anyway, that scene's not in the movie. The movie skips ahead in time. I'm not sure how old Audrina is now. I'm thinking she's 18 because at one point it is suggested that Vera is 21. And I know from IMDb that Audrina was 12 in the beginning and Vera was 15. Audrina wants to take piano lessons. Her father thinks she has more important things to focus on, like becoming her dead sister. Her aunt takes Damian aside and is like, maybe take it easy and let the kid have her way. So Audrina gets to take lessons with a young man named Lamar Rensdale. Vera thinks Lamar is cute and wants to take lessons too, but her piano playing sucks. That doesn't stop her from making a spectacle of herself in front of him. By the way, in the book, Audrina tells Lamar that her father and aunt won't let her go to school and that she doesn't know how old she is and also how sad her life is, and Lamar promises to step in for her. He convinces her aunt and father to send her to school because what they are doing is criminal. That's not in the movie at all. Not to say Lamar is a good guy, he's definitely a creep, but I'll get back to that. Now Arden and Audrina are having a picnic together at the river. In the book, it has the made-up name of the River Lyell. The book takes place in Virginia. I can't remember if the location is mentioned in the movie. Audrina is so happy to have Arden as a friend, and she tells him that. It's very sad. She has no friends, and she's ecstatic to have this one friend. And Arden is like, hold that thought. Eventually I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to be happy when you hear it. And Audrina is like, then don't tell me. Basically goes all Gwen Stefani on him, like, don't speak. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to go into detail about what Arden's secret is, but suffice it to say, Audrina has some major trauma in her childhood. Arden knows about it, but Audrina doesn't because she's blocked it out. And Arden also, on top of that, failed to protect her when he should have, and so he's really experiencing a lot of shame about that, but you'll find out more about that later. This is also in the book. Vera arrives at the river to kill the mood by asking Arden to lather her up with sunscreen. She also hides Audrina's clothes so that Audrina is stuck in her bathing suit when her father arrives to give Arden hell for hanging out with his daughter. In the book, Audrina is naked because she takes off her bathing suit just before Vera swipes her clothes. Her father covers her with his suit jacket and drags her into the woods to the spot where her older sister died. He's angry at her for not being obedient, and he uses the first Audrina's demise as a lesson on what happens to bad little girls who don't listen to their fathers. In the movie, Arden shows up at Whitefern to apologize to Damian for displeasing him by associating with his daughter. Damian is not moved by his words and gets a little rough with him, sending him on his way. He then tells Audrina that if she even thinks about running away with Arden, he will hunt her down. Aunt Elspeth has another conversation with Damian in private. She makes a vague reference to the fact that she has remained silent over the years, but she's afraid that if Damian keeps on this path, he will drive Audrina to a tragic end. Meanwhile, Arden and Audrina are hanging out together and talking. She says she's not normal and he might have to wait a minute if he plans on kissing her. He says he can be patient, and they leave it at that. She asks him to drive her to her piano lesson, and he does. She walks in on Lamar and Vera getting it on. Vera sees Audrina watching them. I guess Lamar is too distracted to notice, but Vera basks in the thrill of traumatizing her younger sister cousin. Audrina rushes out of the house and gets back into the truck with Arden. She directs him to the woods, to the spot where her sister Audrina #1 was killed, and she says she wants to kiss him there, but she chickens out, triggered by memories of violence that she doesn't quite understand, other than that these are memories that are related to her sister. In the book, by the way, Vera does have an affair with Lamar while she's 14. She gets Lamar off by imitating her younger sister's voice, which indicates that Lamar is a creep who likes little girls Vera's age and even younger. Vera eventually runs away with him, but before she runs away, she tells Audrina that she will get her revenge one day against Damian and all those who hurt her. In the book, Vera actually writes out a very sinister letter to her father that Audrina reads to him. Elsbeth isn't as nasty in the movie as she is in the book. I mean, even in the book, she does worry about her daughter and want to go stay with her in New York. She does have her moments of kindness, but at other times, there's a scene in the book where Vera is pregnant and she has a miscarriage on Audrina's rug in her room, and her mother is more concerned about the rug, even as Vera is screaming for help, and Audrina's like, "You need to help her, she's bleeding." So back to the movie. Vera's gone now. Audrina sees Damian and Elsbeth fighting around this point, and he takes off his belt to whip her. Audrina steps in and tells him to stop. This is kind of like the scene in the book between Audrina's mother and father right before the baby's birth that was cut from the movie. In the book, Audrina does overhear Elsbeth and Damian fighting because Elsbeth wants money from him and wants to go to New York to be with Vera, but Damian convinces her to stay even after writing her a check for a lot of money. So the next morning, Audrina finds Elsbeth dead at the bottom of the stairs. In the movie, her face is a bloody mess, and it's jarring because I did not picture her all bloody like that while reading the book. Anyway, Audrina is devastated. The death is ruled an accident. Damian thinks he's about to lose Audrina to Arden, so he locks her in her room at one point, but Audrina throws a fit and starts hurling stuff around her room, and when Damian comes in to check on her, she manages to escape and drive off. She immediately goes to Arden and asks him to marry her. When they come back home to pick up some stuff, Damian's in a better mood. He pretends to be happy for them. Arden dreams of being an architect, so Damian offers him work. In the movie, it's to redesign Whitefern. Like Tony Tatterton in Fallen Hearts, he's trying to keep his daughter tethered to him by bribing her husband with a sweet job. And of course, Arden accepts. In the movie, Audrina is fearful during their wedding night, and Arden is gentle and doesn't push her. In the book, he starts off gentle, but eventually just has his way with her, even as she cries and endures the humiliation. In the book, Audrina has a little sister named Sylvia who is maybe 6, 7, or 8 at this point. They have to take Sylvia with them on their honeymoon. In the movie, Sylvia died at birth. In the book, she's mentally challenged and acts strangely. The book hints at her having a sinister side, and it was a problematic portrayal and probably part of the reason why she was left out of the movie. Vera returns home for Thanksgiving and tries to make amends with her family, even as Damian tells her he doesn't want her there. Vera tries to seduce Arden, so her intentions are not innocent, and she presses Audrina on her sex life, which deeply offends Audrina. At one point, Vera falls while using a stool in the kitchen and breaks her leg. Audrina thinks she's done it on purpose to get sympathy. In the book, Vera has fragile bone syndrome, and it doesn't take much for her to severely injure herself. In the movie, there is nothing mentioned about her having fragile bones. Vera does get Arden to kiss her at one point, just before Audrina walks into the room. Audrina is devastated, but tells Arden she is setting him free to be with a woman who can give him what he needs. He tells her that he feels bonded to her. He reveals that he knew her older sister Audrina. He tried to help her that day in the woods, but he was overpowered. In the book, he actually witnesses the assault and runs in terror, stating later that he went to get help. Maybe that's true, but he didn't try to intervene the way movie Arden did. He wants to tell his wife the full truth, but he doesn't feel it's his truth to tell. He confronts Damian and says, "If you don't tell Audrina the truth, I will." Audrina races upstairs and climbs out on the roof, threatening to jump unless they tell her everything. So Damian reveals that there was no first Audrina. There is only the one Audrina. She survived the assault, but was heavily traumatized by it, and her mother didn't help matters by forcing her into a bath and trying to wash away the evidence and the shame. They put Audrina through shock therapy, and eventually they settled on lying to her, making her think that the horrific ordeal happened to an older sister who died that day. I want to say that I do think this twist is a bit convoluted. In the book, the parents convince Audrina she's 7 when she's actually 9, and they speed up time until she's, I guess, back to her normal age. Why couldn't they have just told her the incident in the woods was just a bad dream? That seems far less complicated. So I'm going to speed things up here. Audrina falls down the stairs one night and ends up in a coma, attached to a machine right there in Whitefern. Vera drugs Arden so she can unhook Audrina's machine, first telling Audrina all about how she was the one who set up the assault in the woods years earlier, thinking that Audrina can't hear this. But she plans to kill her anyway, so what does it matter? Vera tries to take advantage of Arden while he's passed out, but is interrupted by Damian finding Audrina's machine unhooked. She's awakened from the coma somehow, and she tells Damian what she figured out about Vera, and Damian explodes and chases Vera out of the room. Vera is crying about how nobody has ever loved her, and then she falls down the stairs like her mother and dies with an equally bloody face. At the end of the movie, Audrina is ready to begin anew at Whitefern, without the toxic secrecy. In the book, Audrina actually plans an escape from both her father, who betrayed her, and the husband who cheated on her and never even tried to save her when she needed saving. She intends to take Sylvia with her, but Sylvia refuses to leave the house, and so Audrina decides to drive off in her father's Mercedes, Sylvia be damned. Her father puts a massive guilt trip on her for trying to leave him. She's like, "You have Sylvia now. Be good to her. Don't ruin her life the way you ruined mine and Vera's." But her father is scared because he can sense, just as Audrina can, that there's something off about Sylvia. Audrina suddenly gets the sixth sense that something bad is going to happen in the house. Something will happen to her father, and Sylvia will be put away. So Audrina decides she can't do it. She can't leave her sister alone with her father. She decides to make a sacrifice by giving up what she wants in the best interest of others. It's a much more controversial ending than the movie's ending because the characters are so much worse in the book, and Audrina's future looks very bleak. But it's hard to leave the only life you've ever known, even when it's toxic and stifling. My hope is that one day Audrina will leave, but it might take several attempts. Damian has made Audrina her sister's keeper, and you know it's because he wants his older daughter tied to him for life. I kind of wish Vera hadn't been so evil in the book and movie. I wish that Damian had been the true villain, and that everything he told Audrina had been a lie, and that he even convinced her that Vera was evil when she was really just a confused child struggling to survive. That would have been a more befitting ending to a novel about a young girl who is gaslit all throughout her youth by her domineering father. Why can't all the gross scenes with Vera be revealed as stories put in her head during the rocking chair sessions? Damian should have been the one to push everyone down the stairs. In the book, he has an affair with Arden's mother, Billy, and she fell down the stairs as well. But it's determined at the end of the book that Vera was the one who did all the pushing. Her end goal was to get control of her father by eliminating those closest to him. Then she could get a hold of his money and send him and Sylvia away. One of the quirkiest things about the book was Tuesday tea times, where Lucietta and her sister Elspeth would put a picture of their missing aunt, Mercy Marie, who was allegedly eaten by cannibals, on top of the piano, and then pretend to have conversations with her, which were really just an excuse for the two sisters to insult each other in Mercy Marie's voice. I was sad they left those tea times out of the movie. To wrap up, I loved the book so much more, even though it was darker and the characters were less redemptive. But the movie did a great job of condensing the story and eliminating some of the more problematic aspects of the book, such as Arden's character flaws and the depiction of the mentally challenged sister, Sylvia. But it also left out the quirkiness, like the Tuesday tea times with Aunt Mercy Marie, for example. I give the book My Sweet Audrina 4.5 out of 5 stars because it was redundant at times and it had a lot of missed potential. I'd give the movie 3.5 to 4 stars. What are your thoughts, our sweet Althea?
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Jennifer, for letting me tune into your channel once again, and I'm super excited to talk about My Sweet Audrina. And your recap was amazing. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about My Sweet Audrina. Now, the movie opens up with Audrina and her mom and dad, and her, of course, her aunt / cousin, wherever she's supposed to be, sister, whatever. There will be spoilers, of course, because, Jennifer said something, and I'm going to say something, of course, but I'm going to talk about what this whole dynamic is. Can you imagine you're going to a cemetery every week and putting flowers on your sister's grave? The first Audrina. Can you imagine your parents telling you, hey, you had a sister, she passed, her name was Audrina. So you were born, so we're going to name her, we're going to name you Audrina because we lost her. Cool. Can you imagine? Okay, so Vera is supposed to be Audrina's cousin because her mom is Elizabeth. And hold on, I'm about to mess this up. Yeah, her mom is Elizabeth, and your mom is pregnant. And you find out your mom's pregnant because y'all playing piano. She tells you, hey, I'm pregnant, I'm carrying another child or whatever. So Audrina was never allowed to go to school, never allowed to do anything extra because of the first thing that happened to Audrina. So she was like, Dad, one day she told her dad, she was like, her dad was in their shame. She's like, Dad, I don't remember none of my birthdays. I never remember what happened last year. And it's just, okay, what's going on? So we learned later on in the movie when Audrina marries Adrian, who Audrina really is. Audrina, there was no such thing as the first Audrina. Kawink-a-dink, and you're just like, huh? He was like, you're Audrina. She was led into the woods or whatever when she was walking home from school, and she was attacked by 3 boys. And Adrian tried to help her, but they attacked her, and her dad did everything. They did shock treatments. They put all the memories. They said that the first Audrina died, so they could cover the mystery so she wouldn't remember the terrible day because she was never the same after that happened. Can you imagine your parents hiding from you? You thinking that you have a sister that's deceased and your sister is not deceased. You're actually Audrina. You're the first Audrina. There's no such thing as the first Audrina died because you are Audrina. Because something traumatic happened to you being attacked because of a jealous family member. Now, Vera is actually Audrina's sister because the dad was messing with Audrina's mother and Audrina's aunt, which is Elizabeth. And Elizabeth sadly passes in the movie. She was murdered by her own daughter. And Audrina's cousin, which is actually her sister, so cousin / sister, is messing with Audrina. She tries to kill Audrina. She tries to kill the dad. And how this all came about was, okay, Audrina started, wanting to go see Arden or whatever. And it's just weird how everything coincides. The movie is good, but it's just weird how it's coincides. Let me break this down. Let me slow down because I'm rushing with it. Okay. He knew who she was. He knew she was the first Audrina. He kept the secret. Everybody was told to keep the secret. I liked how her aunt Elizabeth was always talking to the dad saying, hey, you're going to lose her. Let her go out, go play the piano. Because after Audrina's mother died because she was pregnant and she saw Audrina going into the woods and she had a flashback and she started hemorrhaging and her baby died. And it's just Audrina and her dad and her Aunt Elizabeth and her sister / cousin, Vera. We see a flashback of how Vera was saying, Audrina. She's like, please don't say my name like that. She's like, well, you're going to have a surprise coming home from school today. So she set up the arrangement of 3 guys attacking and hurting her sister, her half-sister. Can you imagine someone being so jealous of you and they're a sibling? And they get you attacked to the point where you had to have shock treatments. You were never the same. You were just like, it was just like you were, ooh. It's just sad. And how Audrina finds out that her Aunt Elizabeth and her dad are bumping buddies, she overhears them talking downstairs and the door's open. She was like, I'm not, basically an object or something like that. Basically a placement a placement holder in your bed or whatever. And she was like, and her dad takes his belt off. And he acts like he's about to whoop her aunt. And she's like, stop, don't do that. She's like, get out of here. She starts screaming, like, your secret is out, honey. Like, you was messing with him. I knew she was messing with him. I was like, wait, so Audrina's mother was Elizabeth's sister. And she started messing with her. She's like, who had who first? But of course, he must have loved Audrina's mother because he married her, of course. Or, also, some people just marry people this day and age. They do that. And they were doing it back then. So can you imagine you seeing your aunt that, you call auntie messing with your daddy? That's just nasty. But Elizabeth didn't care. She wanted Audrina's father. She wanted Damian. And Damian was against Arden. Or Adrian, whatever his name is. I always hear what these names. He was against them being together. He pulled up on them at the lake. And Vera made a pass at Audrina's husband. And it was just like, because when she's like, do y'all perform or whatever? Because Audrina couldn't perform to have sex because of the trauma she was facing, because her dad took her to the woods and was telling her, said this before she found out who she was. She was the first Audrina and not the second one. And he's like, this is where it happens or whatever. And she was like, oh my gosh, she said no. And she started having flashbacks. So it was something triggering. And I was like, okay, why? Because I was saying to myself, why was she having trigger moments if she wasn't there? And then when it came out, because her husband's like, you need to tell her who she is. And I was like, okay, who the heck, what's going on? And then when it came out that she's the only Audrina, there's no first one. You're the first one. There's no second one, because you're not the second one. You're the first one. You're the first Audrina. That's when she could perform and do the do with her husband. And yeah, she had an accident just like her aunt did. She was pushed down the stairs because her cousin/sister pushed her down the stairs, and she was on a breathing machine. She put something in the dad's tea, and she put something in the husband's tea. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it so it makes sense. You offed your mother because okay. One night, she came into Audrina's room and she dumped a whole bunch of naughty pictures on her page. She's like, I didn't teach you tell you what to do or whatever. And so then she heard Audrina's dad walking in the room, coming up the stairs, or saying, he's calling her name, and she was covering her ears or whatever. Audrina was. And she was like, what is this? So he goes to her cabinet. He pulls out Vera, and he's shoving the pictures in her face and all kinds of stuff. And Elizabeth's mad or whatever. She comes in the room and she's asking him questions. And she asked her daughter, and she ran away with the piano player. The piano player, well, I shouldn't say the piano. He was a piano teacher. He was Audrina's piano teacher. Now, I ain't gonna lie. When I first met him, he kind of gave me that he was looking at Audrina. And Audrina was underage. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Creepy. Just in my opinion. I don't know if anybody else noticed that when they watched My Sweet Audrina. Now, how would I rate this movie? I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Because I didn't see that plot twist coming about she was the first Audrina, because I was like, okay, so why she keep having these flashbacks? And then he said he was giving her shock treatments because, she was never the same, whatever. And then I should have known when she said, I don't remember this birthday. I don't remember what happened last year. I'm like, okay, why she don't remember? And I was like, was somebody giving her medicine or something? And I'm like, okay, why don't she remember stuff? I know sometimes some people can't remember certain stuff, because, heck, I can't remember some of the memories of a kid. Some stuff I can remember, some stuff I can't, because I can't tell you what day it was. And then as I got older, in my teenage years, I used to be in middle school and in my high school days. Oh my God, I could remember anything, and I'll tell you, hey, this lab, you had this on that day, what time step, and now. But if you ask me now, I'm not as good as with my memory. I just don't be like, okay, I have to sit there and think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, you did tell me that. But back then, oh man, I used to be killing it with like, oh yeah, you did this and this. But I was like, okay, Audrina, why should I remember that thing? I was like, what happened? Then when it came forward that she is the first Audrina, the only Audrina, it was just like, huh? And why would your sister/cousin, Vera, get you hurt like that? Oh my God, can you just imagine somebody being, and there's jealousy like that. There's like family members just like your cousin, your sister. This is crazy. I felt really bad for Audrina because Vera was really jealous of her because she really wanted the love and affection from Damian that she didn't get because she was a side piece. Her mom was a side piece. Now, of course, maybe Elizabeth was the first woman that he was with, but he, of course, married Audrina's mother. So, yeah. And then Audrina's mother passed because she saw Audrina going into the woods and she started hemorrhaging. And Elizabeth was the cook. So it made sense why she was there because she wanted to still be close to Damian. Or Damian wanted her still close there. Because at first when she passed, I was like, yeah, Damian did this shit. He killed her. But then when she was like, you had the same look on your face that my mom did when I pushed her down the stairs. What the hell? What the hell? Because she shows up one day. the day of Thanksgiving, and she had a pie. And she was like, Damian was trying to put her out. And Audrey was like, no, let her stay or whatever, because she didn't come to her mom's funeral or whatever. And I'm like, Audrina, don't trust this broad. This is the same broad that brought them naughty pictures in your room and dumped them all over your bed. Nah, baby, you don't trust her. But I'm glad that the cousin / sister got off by Audrina, because she pushed her and she hurt herself. And I'm so glad it wasn't the dad. No, it was the dad. I'm sorry. It wasn't Audrina. It was her dad. I'm so glad she was off, because she didn't need to be on the show. She didn't even be on the movie. She was wrecking the whole thing up. Nah, baby. But I like the fact that Audrina and her husband ran off and got married, because the dad didn't want her to be with him. He was losing himself too. I'm just like, But the movie was really good. Like I said, an 8 out of 10. I really liked it, but I didn't see that plot twist coming, so that's why I'm giving it 8 out of 10, because I didn't see that plot twist coming, and I loved it. And I hope you guys loved it. And I thank you so much for letting me again, Jennifer, sit down and talk with you about My Sweet Audrina. And of course, VC Andrew did her thing. I think they did a second book, like she said, that Christine told me. And there's also a book with this, so check out the book too. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Alfia. That was a great review. Yes, this is a crazy movie. Book is even crazier. If you're old enough, mature enough, I definitely recommend the book. But the movie was good in its own right as well. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, and please check out our future videos. Have a great day.